Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Corn Belt. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with Nutrien Ag Solutions. We'll take a look at the satellite and lightning picture here as we started early on Friday morning. Several clusters of thunderstorms ongoing across the Great Lakes back toward the Central Plains, even across the Atlantic Ocean, where we've got a tropical system now, Faye, making its way across the Atlantic. It'll be impacting portions of the Northeast as we head deeper into the weekend. Let's go ahead and flip it over and look at the radar picture. And again, our kind of lead wave, this was a convectively induced system. So thunderstorms across the Central Plains, across Nebraska and South Dakota 48 hours ago, kind of spurred a little disturbance that kicked off showers and storms across Minnesota and Iowa yesterday evening. Those storms have then continued off to the east across portions of Wisconsin, northern and central Illinois yesterday and overnight, and then now into portions of Michigan and Indiana here early this Friday morning. Elsewhere, we've got thunderstorm clusters across the high plains from Montana down into portions of the Dakotas, down in Nebraska, Kansas, and eastern Colorado, as storms kind of ride up and over the top of the ridge right now, which is kind of adjusting itself back toward the west temporarily. As we head through the weekend, that's going to allow for some thunderstorm activity in areas that badly need it here. I guess the badly needing it areas could be kind of shrunk there, but portions of the mid-Mississippi Valley into the eastern Corn Belt. We'll look at those temperatures at 5 o'clock this morning. A little bit of moderation here in some areas, and we're seeing that push from the northwest down to the southeast. We'll see some relief from the humidity across parts of the central and eastern Corn Belt, again, at least temporarily for a couple of days here. And not any big relief. We're just dropping those dew points down into maybe the mid-60s, which, again, big difference from the mid-70s to the mid-60s. So let's look at the last 3 days of precipitation across the lower 48. Again, the heaviest of which across the northern plains into the Great Lakes here, parts of the Dakotas, into Minnesota, Wisconsin, northeast Iowa, into northern Illinois. A lot of that fell during the last 24 hours. We had some clusters of storms here again across parts of the Central Plains as well. And then as you look across parts of the eastern Corn Belt here, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, down to Kentucky and Tennessee, it's been mostly pop-up thunderstorm activity, that very isolated storms. No flow from the ground up to the mid-levels of the atmosphere to steer those storms so they erupt, stay in place, rain out all their precipitation, and in some cases you get some extreme contrast in the total precipitation here in just some small areas. We had an example of that. I'm kind of zooming in on Champaign County in east central Illinois. We had a stationary storm blow up over Rantoul, Illinois, and just park itself there for several hours, such that we saw between 3 and 4 inches of rainfall over just a 5 to 6 mile area. I kind of measured this earlier. This is the distance of about 6 miles within this core here where we saw over an inch of precipitation. So essentially you've got almost 4 inches of rain. You head off to the south here and it would have been bone dry. We saw some rain come in overnight. This was unrelated to this storm here. So this is just something you can't forecast. This is something that we try to convey here with these pop-up storms. Some big winners and some big losers, but essentially you're not a big winner if you end up with 4 inches of rain over 2 hours time period here on your field. So, dry conditions and flash flood warnings in the same county is kind of what I'm trying to convey here with some of these stationary storms. We'll go ahead and move on. I get hung up on some of these things, sometimes just kind of fascinating, but also frustrating elements of weather prediction. So let's look at the next 60 hours of precipitation. This will take us into Sunday afternoon. And as the ridge kind of sets itself up across the Four Corners region, we're going to see flow coming up and over the top of the ridge. And that's what's going to bring in that chance for clusters of storms riding over the top of that ridge from the Dakotas down into the mid-Mississippi Valley and on into the eastern Corn Belt. We can kind of flip over and look at the 500 millibar flow, and you can see that exactly. You look at the area that we're expecting the thunderstorm activity from the Dakotas into Iowa, Missouri, and Illinois. Follow the jet stream here from the Dakotas into Iowa, Missouri, Illinois. So again, kind of cool. You see the axis of the heat, the big dome of heat. That's kind of a meteorological sin there to call it a dome of heat, but the axis of high pressure here orienting itself from the southern plains or the desert southwest into Montana, and that's what's going to set us up for at least a couple days of favorable flow here in the central and eastern Corn Belt. So let's take a look at that with the high-resolution NAM model. This again will take us into a Sunday afternoon. We'll watch that main wave of thunderstorms here making its way through the Great Lakes, our clusters of storms across the central plains. As we head into the afternoon hours where those thunderstorms are going to be most numerous, it'll be across the eastern Corn Belt here where that first wave reignites here with thunderstorms across parts of Michigan down into Ohio, eastern Kentucky, and Tennessee. And we'll also be watching for thunderstorm clusters to initiate here across parts of the Dakotas, South Dakota, North Dakota, and then eventually dropping southeast into portions of Nebraska. Some very large hail, some strong winds possible with these storms here, and maybe even a couple of tornadoes as we head through the afternoon and evening hours today. I do expect some damage across that area during the late part of the day today. Let's take this into Saturday then. We see this wave pushing off to the southeast. We'll continue to see the chance for some of these thunderstorm clusters that develop across the northern high plains to continue off to the southeast across parts of Kansas and Missouri into the morning hours on Saturday. And then by Saturday afternoon, we see another wave coming in on the backside. We'll see some of those showers and storms flaring up across parts of Minnesota down into Iowa and central Illinois. This would be on Saturday afternoon and evening. I think this is the corridor most likely to see some of those scattered showers and storms popping up. Let's go ahead and take it into Sunday now. Saturday night into Sunday. That's when I think we'll see some showers and storms continuing to ride along up and over the top of that ridge, pushing off a little bit further to the southeast. I think that our Sunday thunderstorm threat is going to be something like this across parts of southeast Illinois into Indiana, Ohio, and Kentucky and Tennessee. So the next 3 days of severe weather forecast here, again, enhanced risk here where you see the orange shading from North Dakota down into Nebraska. Again, that's where we expect those thunderstorms to erupt this afternoon and evening, producing some potentially very large hail over 2 inches in diameter, strong winds gusting over 70 miles per hour, and then maybe even a couple of tornadoes with some of the strongest storms. So a fairly active afternoon and evening and early overnight expected across, again, parts of North Dakota down into South Dakota and northern and central Nebraska. As we head into the day on Saturday, we'll continue to see this severe weather threat push off to portions of Kansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. Again, that's the kind of the remnants of our Friday convection making its way off to the southeast. And then during the afternoon and evening hours, watching this region here for a couple of strong storms across parts of Iowa, down into central Illinois during the late afternoon into the evening hours and early overnight on Saturday. Sunday, that risk pushes off to the southeast. We'll see that risk for a couple of strong storms from the Gulf Coast into the far eastern Corn Belt and parts of the Mid-South, Kentucky, Tennessee, and portions of Ohio. Beneath that ridge, again, here is where our thunderstorm threat is going to be the highest, riding up and over the top of that ridge. But beneath that ridge, heat advisories, red flag warnings, all kinds of heat-related advisories beginning to pop up across parts of the southern plains into the central plains. And as we head deeper into the week, this will expand into the central and eastern Corn Belt once again, shutting down that thunderstorm threat. That's why this weekend's rain opportunities are so crucial in some of these areas. So again, we looked at this as we looked at the weekend, taking a look at the favorable flow here across parts of the central Corn Belt, central and eastern Corn Belt. Let's take a look at what happens as we head deeper into the week. We'll go kind of slowly here using the operational model, the operational European model. Here's as we get into Saturday and Sunday. Again, here's the favorable trajectory. The area of high pressure now across parts of the desert southwest, flow coming up and over the top of that. Where you see these lines kind of tightly packed together, that's where we've got the strong jet stream flow, the strong upper level support. You can also see the wind barbs in this area hitting about 50 knots. That's some good flow here for this time of year. So coming up and over the top of the ridge, thunderstorms as we head through the weekend into early next week, Friday through Monday, keeping things rather favorable across the central Corn Belt and at times into the eastern Corn Belt and the Great Lakes. We'll take this deeper into Saturday, Sunday, Monday. You're seeing a slow evolution here with the ridge starting to expand, but look at this. Where are the lines kind of packed tightly together? Where do we see those wind barbs? It's now across the Dakotas, pushing into parts of Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin. But then even as we head into the Tuesday and Wednesday time frame, kind of watching this region. How far south does this get? Do we still get some thunderstorm clusters across parts of Iowa and Illinois into Indiana? It does look like we have some opportunity for that even as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday. Again, with a very strong flow coming up over the top of the ridge. So this is a strong gradient between the very hot and unstable air mass off to the south, some of that upper level support, and you can at times get some strong thunderstorm clusters kind of along that gradient. So let's look at the European model's precipitation forecast, or surface pressure and precipitation forecast. Again, we'll go quickly through the weekend. We've kind of covered this now, watching for strong storms from the Dakotas into central and northern Nebraska this afternoon and evening. Those thunderstorms will race off to the southeast across parts of Kansas and Missouri during the overnight into Oklahoma and Arkansas in the early morning hours tomorrow. Saturday afternoon and evening, Watching this corridor here from Iowa, maybe southern Minnesota down into Iowa and central Illinois for thunderstorms to pop up. Those could continue across portions of Iowa or again, across parts of Illinois and Indiana in the overnight on Saturday night. And then on Sunday, again, watching for those thunderstorms across this region, pushing off to the south across the eastern Corn Belt and the Ohio River Valley. We'll then reset as we head into Monday, again, watching for the next wave to make its way across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest. The chance for some strong storms across this region as we head into Monday, and then watching for the potential. Again, we'll talk about this more on Monday and Tuesday, but even as we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, watching as this area of low pressure off to the north kind of drags a frontal boundary through the region, could we still see some significant rainfall and maybe some strong storms from Iowa into northern Illinois and northern Indiana during the Tuesday and Wednesday timeframe? Right now, it does look like trends are kind of moving in that direction. So, fingers crossed we can keep those rain opportunities in the region a little bit longer. As we get on the other side of that, though, Wednesday into Thursday of next week into Friday, our rain chance is going to be slowly following the jet stream northward, and again leaving the central and eastern Corn Belt, moving back into the northern plains in the upper Midwest. So. Crucial trying to figure out where these thunderstorm opportunities are going to end up. We see similar picture here from the GFS. I'm going to show it in a slightly different way to kind of avoid redundancy here. But looking at daily accumulated precipitation, again, this was yesterday's opportunities. Here is Friday. We'll see that rain moving off across the Great Lakes into the eastern Corn Belt. And here's our thunderstorm cluster expected to develop across the high plains, moving off to the southeast during the overnight tonight. Saturday precipitation, again, that thunderstorm threat going to be greatest in this region. We'll then look at Sunday, Monday. Here comes that next chance now from the upper Midwest down into the central Corn Belt. This would be Tuesday, Wednesday. So again, do we get these Tuesday and Wednesday thunderstorms here? That would be crucial. Getting into now Thursday, Friday, and we'll go ahead and move on now. Looking at total accumulated precipitation over the next 6 days, the European model on the left, the GFS on the right. Again, good agreement on the overall pattern, but of course, neither model is going to handle it exactly correct when we talk about some of these individual thunderstorm clusters, so we can smooth it out a bit with the ensemble picture here, looking at the probability of 1 inch or more of total precipitation between now and next Thursday. And again, you see the highest probabilities here kind of north of Interstate 80, you can kind of call it, from Nebraska into central Iowa and northern Illinois. Again, here's our little cluster of thunderstorms that extends off to the southeast overnight tonight. But again, generally north of Interstate 80, that's where you get those probabilities better than 50% to pick up another inch of rain here over the next week. The heat's going to begin to expand as we head into next week as well. We'll look at those temperature anomalies. Again, watching a bit of a cool down across the central and eastern Corn Belt as we head into the back half of the weekend and early next week, a little relief from some of the humidity as well, but it is short-lived as that ridge begins to expand back into the central U.S. We're going to see some extreme heat once again across portions of the central and southern plains, extending across the central and eastern Corn Belt with temperatures in the lower to mid-90s during the afternoons here as we head into the late part of the week. We'll look at those 5-day high temperatures here. This would be Friday's highs. Again, a little bit of relief here, mid-80s across the central U.S., some lower 80s across the Dakotas into the upper Midwest on Saturday. We'll see some of that cooler air pushing into the Midwest here on Sunday and Monday. By the time we get to Tuesday, though, that heat once again beginning to expand across the Corn Belt, and we'll see that lasting into the middle and late part of next week.